All right, welcome H Radio 223 part-timers to another week three of your lessons. And it's been back to back to back. And I've said this before, back to back recordings, but it's just been that way because of, the public holiday. And also, please note, I have, even though I said I wasn't going to, but I had to, and I have also shared with you in the group. I'm sure you're aware of it. The brief for the F3. Again, disclaiming the moment we have contact class the week after this one, right? I'm going to go through that F3 again, right? Okay, please note in your calendars, please do attend. I'm not going to, it sounds almost silly for a lecturer to beg you to attend, but yeah, I really recommend that you do, okay? Not being funny anyway. All right, let's quickly get into the lessons. The lessons are quite short for this week, so I'm going to do three. And we're going to close up news 10, 11, and 12. So it's nice. Also, just it rounds it up nicely just to kind of look ahead. So lesson 55, 56, still focusing on integrated news. And then what we're going to do in 57 is a whole roundup of everything that we have learned before. But I'm not going to, and I will disclaim it there as well. I'm not going to go and repeat every single thing because it's going to make for one really long, boring lecture. But I'm going to highlight the points, and we are going to move through that as a bit of a refresher, right? That's all. Okay. So here we go. Compiling news, sports, traffic, and weather. Please, that's from Geller's book. Uh, Chapter 27, Integrating News and TV News, 307 to 312. And I'm going to play two videos for you today, and that is on how to both videos are on how to broadcast for TV, how to broadcast for versus how to broadcast for radio. Right, the one is 10 minutes, and the one's about 3 minutes or so. So that should give you a good understanding or a good idea as to why the running time of the video and the lesson is the way it is. Okay. So we did end off with integrating radio into other departments and other people, right? Okay. I would say integrating radio within, should I say, departments in a radio station, and why that was obviously beneficial. Kind of just to recap, we ended off with like, let's look at programming, let's look at obviously the news department, let's see what we can do together and why we should be doing it together, right? Especially in this day and age where we have so much more that we need to compete with, but also in terms of being able to really develop and create great content. Okay, that is only made better because we come together as teams, right? Okay, no egos at all. We drop the egos out the window for any presenter broadcaster, whether you're on news, whether you are on air or as a co-host or contributor, whatever it may be, right? In and I could obviously liken this to other mediums. I'm not going to at the moment, but it does still apply to them as well. If you genuinely believe that you can quote unquote do it on your own or your stuff is good enough, right? You will fail, guaranteed, right? Okay, and 10 to 1, your stuff isn't that good, right? So please look to collaborate, look to always make the product better because you can always give a listener a little more than what they expected. You can take them further than where they thought they should be able to go, want to even go, or even know how to go to, right? So, really, that's again, going to drill it into your ethos, right? Your own kind of attitude and the way that your kind of your work ethic, right? And it will absolutely serve you much better, right? Okay, so how has the trend of radio and TV newsrooms? Now we're looking at the two types of broadcasters, right? Because because this isn't television, I'm not going to focus much on the television delivery, the television environment, the ecosystem, the people that obviously work within, news broadcasting on that side or whatever it may be. We are, however, going to look at a basic comparison between the two to be able to see whether or not you can segue. So, in other words, you can go from radio to TV in this context as a broadcaster, right? A news broadcaster, or from TV to radio. Let me just kind of spoiler alert for you. The TV to radio transition is much easier, and definitely occurs much more in radio than, let's say, a radio anchor, for example, moving on to television. It's not that it doesn't happen, but because television is so many moving parts, uh, and and that also includes covering the news, compiling the news, presenting news, which is what we do on our side, as opposed to visuals and like scripts and auto cues or whatever it is, auto prompters and different cameras and whatever it may be, right? There's a lot of moving parts in TV, and so TV professionals can make the transition much easier than, let's say, the TV industry kind of considering, quote unquote, um, let's say a broadcaster, a news anchor from our side. Now, I think her name is Paulette Nell, right? Just to get the full name correct. I haven't worked with Paulette for a while, but she was a news anchor on my show, I think maybe about a year ago, and she made the transition over. Very good. Paulette's very good. Obviously, otherwise, why would she get jobs, within media? But she is hosting, I think it's SABC Nights. So that's not the name of it, but it's the news that happens at 7 o'clock, and you'd be able. Oh, we had a look at her, right, Paulette, in the previous lesson at some or other point, right? I played a little bit of Paulette. We kind of criticized her constructively, right? Anyway, so there's a good example to just kind of encourage you that it can be done. It is done, and you can also do it, right? But go back to here. So how has the trend of radio and TV newsroom converging provided a cordial sharing of resources among former rivals in the news business? It's true, right? Because look, we all need to compete for our own audience. We have to, otherwise, either or both mediums will die. How can radio news people learn to leave space for pictures, and how can TV news people learn to tell better, visually oriented stories? And will this trend continue? It will, because once again, the more that we can provide, so we have the visual aspect only because now we have access, or now we are alive or active on social media. Agree, right? So now we can actually see our presenters and our field reporters, and there's shares on wherever there's on YouTube. There are obviously there's on Instagram, TikTok, and even on Facebook and X, right? Everywhere where the station feels it the platform will serve its better interest in executing what it needs to do. In this case, for example, let's say a short news clip, or when I say news clip, specifically again from a field reporter that's on the ground, that's covering something, and that we can use, because video is always it is always better. Video is always better. Visual is always better than audio. I'm sorry to say that, and sorry, not sorry, but it's true. Again, I keep saying this, and the reason for that is because the human brain can process so much more with a visual, like I say, like a visual product, than with a an audible product, because we have to work hard. Our brains need to work harder, where we hardly even use our brains when we watch something that's on television, right? And so it is like it's much more stronger, should I say? It also has in being able to deliver content, right? Okay. And and again, it's not that I know I'm going to disclaim this. I know you kind of know that, but some people keep saying that the audio or the audible platforms or industries are kind of are in threat of going out of business because there's no interest, right? When everything can be seen on social media, specifically digitally streaming, and everything else is via your obviously your streaming services or your public services on television. It's not, again, it's so not true, because once again, you can't watch TV in a car, right? You ideally, ideally, while you are training at a gym, for example, you shouldn't be watching television, right? If you're on the treadmill, elliptical, whatever it is, yeah, of course, like what else you gonna do? You're gonna stream something, right? It's so boring on there. But also let's look at other ways that people are like consuming or like an audio or an audible platform or medium. Right. For example, you go on a walk, and what were you going to do? I tried to do that. I even tried to, let's say, I went for a walk the other day. Right. So I think it was, yeah, I went for a walk the other day. You don't need to know which day. It's not important anyway. So, anyway, and I was like, yeah, this walk's kind of boring. I do not enjoy like that type of like exercise, but I know that obviously it's very good for you, so I do it now and again, right? But obviously I'm tempted to go to the phone, right? As opposed like listening to music, for example, or listening to a radio station makes sense, right? But I try to obviously entertain myself otherwise, right? And maybe scroll through social media, whatever it is. The first thing that made me immediately go off was the fact that I nearly obviously tripped and fell and broke my, let's say, front teeth or whatever it may be, right? As you know, or I can continue to walk over the road, get like smashed by a car, whatever it may be. It doesn't matter. It's not made for certain places. Take television, right? And there's many other places that you would definitely want an audible medium. Anyway, sidebar once again, it is a competition, and we should know this. Are there other forms of news and information distribution bound to come into this equation? For absolutely sure. The business of every art is to bring something into existence, right? So, for example, let's say great TV news people come from radio, right? Because they know how to communicate and tell stories. They do, and that is our upper hand from let's say a news reporter that hasn't quite learned fully, even though they do. I'm saying if you're a professional, you would quite fully understood the art of conversation, right? And communication, because they depend so heavily on visuals that they might be proactive enough to be expose themselves fully to the communication realm or the communication realm of skills, right? So we do have an advantage in that way. We can write better. We do think of obviously how to focus on the correct facts in a short amount of time. For example, if you're going to come from print, you're going to have a really difficult time to be able to adapt faster, right? I'm not saying you can't, but to radio or to television, right? Anyway, okay. So all right. They can work without scripts, with the scripts, and can spontaneously improve. Eh, I, I don't know so much about that because we've been really pushing the importance for a newsreader to have a rigid script that they stick to, right? I do get that the broadcaster, the radio broadcaster, improvs all the time. And again, that kind of cultural skill is adopted by everyone in that station, never mind on air, but off air as well, because we all work as one, right? We work to produce one particular product, right? So in that respect, I'm going to agree with this, but in others, yeah, I mean, please, let's not get carried away. Smart broadcasters use TV for what it does best, presenting pictures to show events as they happen. Now, with the internet, most radio personalities and programmers are becoming more experienced working with video to post on a station's websites or social media platforms. And that's the truth. Like we like even I mean, the broadcasters, never mind the journalists, right? But it says there, radio personalities. We have to. We'll constantly get like a little bit because there's always someone or somebody or many people within the team that just absolutely don't do it, right? And yes, whatever the reasoning is, I don't know. Again, I'm not trying to pretend I'm better, but hello, I'm in media, so I should get that. I should be on social media, or linking my brand and my craft. And let's say, for example, in one case, because many different companies that I work for, a few, not many. But for the station, I have to create content that is linked visually and audibly, and like you got to see people. I'm not, yeah, you got to see me too as well. But we got to think of different ways to be able to add value now. And that means we have to have a face for television too. I'm not saying you have to be pretty. As I said, I think I've mentioned this before, maybe in my own my own private conversations. But definitely like if you're if like beauty is like 90% of people on this planet are considered beautiful. So please, like we clean up well, just clean up well. That's how you present yourself well. And it's obviously confidence, presentation, confidence. I'm saying aesthetically makes you look beautiful and makes you and when I say beautiful, palatable to someone who's watching you. Now just imagine again us not doing that. Okay? So they used to say we have a face for radio. Yeah, no, whatever. It's a cool little saying. It obviously latched on somewhere, but that it doesn't really apply. You have to have a voice for radio. Never mind anything else, right? With television, can we have we live in a world right now that isn't just plastic, right? Well, you'd think, right? It isn't because we have so many different types beautiful, beautiful, definition of beautiful. And I'm going to Hannah on that because it's called profession, right? So we want to be able to, make sure that, we have a shave or whatever it may be, or at least, like let's say as a man, have your whiskers, say, well trimmed, your hair kind of neat for women as well, most definitely. Something nice, not like your pajamas, that looks presentable, that type of stuff. I'm doing social media now, unless it's contextually relevant that I must be in your pajamas, right, or your gym wear or whatever, right? But okay, I'm not going to carry on about it. That we need to be comfortable in front of a camera, which I think most of us are, because we have such massive, healthy, predominantly healthy egos. We don't mind. Like the more people, the more we are being exposed. So the more we can perform, the more it feeds our personal like we feed off it in a good way, not for tension. We want to entertain. We want to be able to inform, right? And so again, carrying on about it, but think about it. It's cool. Don't be shy. Both radio are both in front of the camera and in front of the mic, right? So many broadcasters have found that they enjoy doing both. As I just said it. And again, with digital newsrooms, you may be required to do both. You have no choice. Right. Great storytelling and powerful communication is definitely, it goes without saying, the key to both. Okay. So this thing, here we go, face for radio. Yeah, it's insulting, I suppose, if you really care or care about it. It's just a statement, and it's a very old school statement, where you couldn't really put, let's say, I would say interesting characters traditionally on television. It wouldn't work, in the well, let's say even go down to let's say 40s where television was introduced, and visuals were introduced, we had these very polished people that were on, on television, perfectly made up, perfect little bodies, they kind of, almost like Barbie dolls in a way to a certain extent. But it's not all like that. If I look at, let's say, old transmissions, which I really enjoy doing because I love like antiquities and I love nostalgia and I love old school stuff. Anyway, it doesn't matter, right? There's nothing wrong with with let's say with most of the people, maybe all the people that were on air. And trust me, they were not all models, right? Radio broadcasters, right, should take it upon themselves to do as much as possible, not to discourage television stations from utilizing them, right? Now I can only do radio because that's where I belong. No, you don't actually. Like we have, again, just from the fact that we have too many, and I'm going to say there's too much of an influx of influences, one, right? So they come from a visual ecosystem, influencers, right, as well as television, professionals that keep on coming and taking space within our industry. If they're great, all more power to them. Like because, but if they're not, and it's just done because of the fact that they're named somewhere else, that's poor programming, right? And we have too many program managers that decide to go that desperate route and not rather flourish or nourish like new talent, right? Or their actual talent. Okay. But it is the floor is open, man. Like, come on in. We're both broadcasters, and we belong where we have worked for it, and we have the talent for it, wherever that is. Right? Producing the pink elephant, a lot of TV interviews, discussions, or talking heads, right? Programs. In other words, like I got, let's say, like a host, and they've got other guests, talking head programs on. I just talk radio shows with cameras pointed at them. Now, talented people can be taught to speak visually for radio reports, absolutely. And radio people can be taught to leave the space in their writing for pictures. TV and radio can promote each other, increasing visibility and audience. So because we want to kind of not kind of yeah when I say kind of we can't be fully in both sectors, right? We must be, let's say, fully in radio and partially in television. You understand? Or fully in television, partially in audible or audio, right? So here are the two transitions, let's say from TV to radio. Next slide will be from radio to TV. And then you can have a look at those videos. We'll stop there just for the day, right? Okay. So from TV to radio, speak to one person listening. As we know, speak to one listener at a time. No plurals, right? Engaging with one person at a time. Why again? Do we share a pair of ears? No. Do we share literally share a life? No. A brain? No. A mindset? No, we don't. So it only makes sense to always speak to one person, right? Okay, so if you are stuck for a way to begin a report, pretend that the anchor has just asked you a question, or write the question into your report. It really does this particular point here, and it's actually quite common, but it's very rarely shared with professionals, right? Came from a consultant who said to me, listen, do you want to talk? Do you want to talk naturally? And do you want to, and from that you'll understand pace and energy and whatever it is. He said, everything you need, everything you say on air, and this made such a massive difference to the way, massive, to the way that I present on air, right? He said, everything you say needs to sound, right, and be an answer to a question. For example, very easy stuff. Let's start with the easy stuff. Like, what station is this? Oh, it's Boston Broadcasts, right? What handles do you want to promote or share with your listener? Well, I want to share both all our handles: TikTok, YouTube Music. We have Facebook, we have Instagram, as well as what's the last one? Instagram. Did I say that right? Anyway, if I repeat it right. And what is the handle? Well, it's at Boston Broadcasts, all platforms, right? So that already, tell me what the time is. Right now, it's 34 minutes past 10 in the morning. And I don't have to say in the morning, it's just for the context of the lesson, right? So it's 10:34, and my name is Chris. Right, that's natural. It's answering every question, and I put it all together. Right, you can apply it to everything that you do onwards, right, and throughout your show. Use TV to promote radio, and radio to promote TV. It's okay to promote your TV news coming up on the radio station. So we're looking at, for example, an all like an all media conglomerate. For example, the SABC, this would apply, right? Okay. I don't really hear much of it, but also, let me be honest, I don't listen to a lot of SABC stations. So that obviously is up for question. Whether on radio, TV, or the web, promote within your programming. Use TV anchors and special reporters as regulars on the radio show so that Yeah, I mean, it's great. As we said in the previous one, let's lend ourselves to expanding the just scope of what we share with our listeners, right? Keep a radio in the newsroom. Sorry, on in the newsroom, right? Because you really should always listen to what's going out on air, right? Especially if you are a contributor, for example, like a newsreader, sports reader, a producer, whatever it is, it doesn't matter. Whether if you're going to step outside, right? In any case, the station manager, program manager, the sales manager, everyone must have the radio on, that station on. Use multi versions, as we said before, remind the audience how the story affects them. Whenever possible, remember to make it matter. So let's go down here from radio to TV. We'll do the quiz, we'll look at the videos. From radio to TV, play to the visual, right? Lean on what you want to expand further on as we would have done with a sound bite or let's say a box, right? Start the best video. So almost like the way that, and you don't know much about this, but it's fine. The way that we would start, it's a demo, right? We want to be able to start with the best link first, but also think about it. Like when you do start a piece of media, like you want to get the attention, it's the hook. The best video in this case I would think all of them have to be great. Now, no, believe that all of them must be great, but the best one is the most relevant for me and obviously well produced, right? Put movement into each slot. Let the pictures tell the story. Do not repeat, right? If we can see that, for example, there's a riot, don't say now the obvious. There are people like, now there's a riot now happening here. We can see it, right? And also the tagline, I'm saying to you, the tagline, I don't know what, I think it's a byline. I'm not sure of the naming. You see, I'm on TV, right? But what you see at the bottom of the screen on the video should also say a riot is currently happening at whatever mall. All right, anyway, make good use of natural sound, but do not overwrite. Okay, use graphics, charts, and your own imagination to jazz up less interesting stories. So that, oh, obviously, you know what I'm gonna say. Like, what? Why is it there if it's not interesting enough, right? Relevant enough. More importantly, when you edit, do not hang on to the good shots. The essence is storytelling. So grab the spotlight, right? Money can't buy happiness, but it can buy TV exposure. So you get all the free TV publicity that you can. And when your station is taking calls from listeners on issues of the day, it makes a good TV opinion. Makes a good TV opinion story. I'm not going to go much into that. I think it's quite straightforward. And again, please also contextually relevant because it sounds like I don't like Valerie Geller. It's just sometimes, as I said, please take certain things with a pinch of salt because it varies much. Well, it's much more complex than just what you see in your textbook, right? Or on these slides. People do not make distinction about, well, where they can get their news, whether they read it, hear it, or hear about it, or watch it. They don't care. They just want, well, they care because they have a preference, but they just want it to be good. Television, radio, the internet, video, audio, photos, text, all part of the information network. Quiz multiple choice question number one. If you want to make it in TV news today, you must, one, have a fashionable face. You know what I said about that. Be willing to write other forms of news. Have started in radio news. Hire a grooming coach. That was obvious, right? Number two, the concept of letting your audience know what is coming next is known as producing the pink elephant, producing a solution to every problem, promoting with your programming, painting without pictures. Mm-hmm. Okay. For radio news writers to become good TV news writers, they'll need to add this to their arsenal of writing skills, being creative, avoiding overwriting, making good use of natural sound, letting the pictures tell the story. They are in that one. Mm, There are three that are correct. I know pause there, like it's not for drama, dramatic effect. There's three there. Okay, all right. As if it's an existential crisis for me. Three there are correct, actually. True or false? Where news comes from is not a critical factor for audiences choosing news sources. Five, radio and TV news announcers should never mention the other station in their programming. Right. This is a short answer. Your local university calls your newsroom to announce that they will hold a news conference at 10 a.m. tomorrow to reveal major expansion plans. That's happening tomorrow. Sorry, I read that with the wrong emphasis on certain words, right? Describe how a radio newsroom and a TV newsroom could use the same resources to cover this news conference and what types of stories would they develop from the announcement. Please do all these exercises. And when you do have contact, um, let's share. I'm gonna stop the share here. Let's go to video. So yeah, hopefully this one will load quicker than my usual. I was the first one. They were literally back to back. This one and this one over here. I'm just gonna one here, so I don't want to overload it.
Hello everyone, I'm Britt Waters, and today I'm answering my most asked question, whether I'm in person, on social media, everywhere. People want to know, how do you become a radio and TV host? Before we get into the tips and tricks, I'll tell you why I'm qualified to even make this video. I get asked because I've been in radio nationally and in top 10 markets for the past about 7 years. I studied at the University of Maryland, College Park. It was one of the top 10 journalism schools at the time. I went on to be on air and producer for the nationally syndicated Russ Parr Morning Show, where it all began. I went from there to working for Entercom Radio, my own show, and nights at Fresh FM, and now I'm doing weekends here. I'm also a game host for Monumental Sports. I have 3 TV shows on a local station in DC. So that's my story, but I want to get your story started. So, number 1 tip to starting your career, educate yourself. So, my way of educating myself was going to school for it. I have a degree in broadcast journalism, but when I say educate yourself, learn the business. So it can be something like watching TV, and studying the news people, or watching videos like this, or reading books about broadcasting. Figure it out what it is you want to do, whether it's broadcast, print, or digital, and study that platform. If it's radio, find which music format you want to do, or if it's AM talk radio, make sure you learn the business and understand what it is, and if you truly want to do it. Learn the DMA rankings. I think that's important. A lot of people say the entry-level opportunities are in small markets. There's a few in big markets too, so just figure out where you can fit in. Number 2, you're gonna need experience. But luckily, it's 2019 when I'm filming this video, and it's easy to gain experience. My first way of getting experience was starting my own radio show. I had a sports talk show in college. It made me comfortable behind a microphone because I did it every day. Me and my best friend would talk about sports, and it helped me. And then when I went to go apply for jobs, I could say, I've been a radio host for such and such years that I was doing it, even if it was just me and my friend and our parents and roommates listening. Make sure you have experience. If you have a phone, you can start a podcast. If you have YouTube, you can start a TV show. It's easy and accessible these days, and if you need any type of help or app suggestions on that, just comment down below. Number 3 is getting out there, and that will be through volunteering and internships. If you decided to educate yourself in the business by going to college, usually with a degree in broadcasting, there's a certain level you get to where you have to have an internship, but if not, you can volunteer. That's how I got my first job. I was doing some volunteer work, and I asked to shadow some of the people that I really liked in the business. When I started on the morning show, they told me they didn't want to have an intern. I was like, okay, I'll just keep showing up. Then I became an intern, and then I was getting coffee, and I went from getting coffee to, oh, hey, say this real quick. And I became a character on the show. And then, hey, let me show you how to run the board so when we step out, you can just take over for a few minutes. Little stuff that ended up for me being on air on a nationally syndicated show. And volunteering and internship, it's really can't be about the money. It has to be about the experience that you're gaining, and the access that you're getting. Being in the right place at the right time can start any career. So number 4 is to create opportunities within that volunteer and internship. So when I was interning, everything they told me to do, but I also did extra stuff. So we would have a poll every day. I would take that poll question and I would set up my camera, my tripod that I was renting from my school, and I would go out on campus and ask all my friends and film it on video, edit it, make a video package, send it to my boss. He never asked for those things. I don't even think he really watched them, but just him seeing my work ethic, my passion for what I was trying to do, it ended up making him realize how much I could do and how much more responsibility he could give me, and eventually trusting me to have an actual position and not just an internship. So make the opportunities. If you're shadowing someone and you see something that they're doing that's trivial that you can do, start doing it, or ask them if they need help, or just say, hey, I had this idea. Can you look at something real quick? It just puts you out there and it creates opportunity. Number 5 is establishing relationships. Unfortunately, in this business, you can apply for a job online, but it's technically not really how I've ever gotten hired. It's always been through my boss, who knew this person's boss, who knew that person, who saw me here. Someone found me on Instagram. Somebody heard my name because they were driving and heard me say it on the radio, or I apply for something and then actually, my job at Fresh, I applied and then I didn't email the program director till months later. And as soon as he got the email, he reached back, interviewed me, and hired me. So it was more so about me getting his contact than applying online. So when I say establishing relationships, reach out to people who are doing what you want to do. And luckily, a lot of people are willing to help. And if they're not, at least they'll remember your name because you reached out. Every radio station goes out with a promotion street team and has a squad out there. Usually one of the jocks might go, or even if you're at a concert, there will be a table set up. Network with these people. If it's for television, go to the events, go to the station events, go to the local cities parade that you know they'll be at, and reach out to those people and establish those relationships. But as you gain mentors in this business, also remember to trust your gut. That's be like a bonus. Definitely trust your gut, because I've definitely taken advice from people that was great, but it wasn't for me. And I think as you grow and get experience in what you want, and you know what you want to see and how you want to see your life go, you'll learn how to trust your gut. All right, number 6, say what you want. I know it can be almost a little embarrassing when you're out here hustling for something that might not ever happen, but don't be ashamed of it. Cling on to the fact that you are working towards something and be open about what you're working towards. I remember when my station flipped back a few months back, and I was just like, you know what? I'm working and I really want a new full-time gig, or I want a new station to get on. I had hosting residencies. I was doing a whole bunch of other things. And I posted on Instagram, it was like a picture of me working. I was like blessed to be so booked and busy. But in the meantime, I'm looking for a new radio home. And that's how someone found me. They were just like, wow, we didn't know that she was even looking for something until she put it on Instagram in a caption. And for me, it was a humbling experience, because you never want to admit that, hey, I'm looking for work, but own it. And even if you have a job, be vocal about wanting something different within the company with your boss. My last boss was super helpful and helped me get this job, because I told him, I was just like, I love where I'm at, but I really want to grow. So if you know any other opportunities, experiences, especially in the #1 market where I am now, please share them. And he did that. So be vocal about what it is that you want, and never be ashamed if you're not there yet. And my 7th and final, most important advice I can give for being a radio and TV host: be yourself. This job is a lot about your personality. So if you're faking it, people will know. And it's also really hard to keep up if you are faking something on TV or on the radio and someone sees you in real life and you're not that girl. Definitely be yourself. I mean, I've gotten so much great advice from great people that told me, I'll never be Tamron Hall. I'll never be Barbara Walters. I will never be Wendy Williams. But I will always be Britt Waters, and you will always be yourself. And you never know, the things that you might not like about your personality, the weird accent you might have, the lisp you may have on certain words, or just your unique opinion. You never know what the audience will cling on to and what they'll relate to and what will be magic and what will be your signature. So definitely own that and be yourself. So let's go through, educate yourself, create experience, volunteer/intern, create opportunities and overwork within those volunteer internships. 5, establish relationships and trust your gut. 6, say what it is that you want and own it. And 7, be yourself. If you do all these things and you don't become a successful TV and radio host, call me. I'm sorry. But it's worked for me and it's worked for so many other people. If you are a younger person, a college student, there are lots of scholarships out there for people that are aspiring journalists. And you know, it is worth investment. Like people say, you don't need to go to college to be a radio host. And as I've showed you, you don't, but it really helps me, especially being at Philip Merrill College of Journalism at Maryland. I know a lot of great talent that has come out of there. My best friend is a writer on the West Coast, and a lot of people are still in broadcasting, and it's really important. So do the work, and I will see you in this industry. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe.
Good attitude, right? Just give me a second there. Close that one. Let's do one more. This one's quite short.
Hi, I'm Darren Simons, founder of Aspire Presenter Training in London, and here are my 5 top hacks for being a great presenter for television, social media, or whatever platform you're going to be appearing on. Number 1, be yourself. People buy into people, and you'll get noticed, you'll get followers, you get likes and hits by simply having the confidence of being you. You're good enough just as you are, and therefore there's no need to put an act on. However, there are a few essential techniques that will help you be more authentic and natural in front of the camera and really let your viewers know who you are. Which leads us on to number 2, it's the smile. I know it sounds obvious, but so many aspiring presenters forget to smile in front of the camera. They're so focused on trying to make sure the words are correct, but actually the main lines of communication is 93% body language and only 7% of the words, so therefore smiling is essential. However, wearing the cap that fits the presentation is also important to get right. For example, if we're presenting a lifestyle show such as music, fashion or travel, we can afford to smile more than perhaps if we're reading the news or hosting a more serious topic. But then the smile portrays a pleasantness, a reassurance and a confidence. The eye contact. Now, having good eye contact with the lens of the camera is essential. It's technically like having direct eye contact with your viewer, and again, shows confidence. If you're glancing away or looking distracted, then you won't connect with your viewer, and they'll either switch off mentally or physically, or simply switch over. The voice. Now, remember, in this day and age of being a great presenter, the viewer wants to feel that you're talking just to them, not at them, but to them. Even if you're in front of millions of viewers, it's important to talk to the camera as if it's one person. This is really going to help your presentation sound more conversational and natural, and also help you engage and connect with your viewer and sound believable and real. Now, make sure you use emphasis on the words and light and shade in the delivery in a conversational sounding way, and in simple terms, sound interesting, and the viewer should be interested. Remember to enjoy what you're presenting and find topics and content that you're passionate about and enjoy it. If you love being around children, then perhaps look at kids TV, but not if you don't like kids. If you love travel, look at travel presenting and so on. As this is going to really shine through the camera and make your presentation even more real. And as we said in the beginning, people buy into people and will buy into you if they enjoy what you have to say. Now, getting into the presenting industry is very competitive. However, if you have passion, drive, perseverance and determination, you can make it happen. Keep focused, strong and committed. And like most things in life, you should be able to achieve your goals. If you'd like to know more about how we can help you, please feel free to get in touch with either myself or my team. We'll always be on hand to help, support and guide you. Here's to your future success, and we'll see you on a screen very soon.
Nice. Okay, let's end that. This at right. See you in the next recording.